most enthusiasm for this football team since Mac's rookie year.
Let's start to go through this team a little bit. You have this receiver. Tell us what this guy, Stefan Diggs, is like.
He's coaching Drake more like, say, Belichick coached Brady. Like the behind the scenes stuff, or like, Johnny Foxborough could have done that.
Typical masshole.
Yeah, look at him
typical masshole.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Buffalo Plus YouTube channel. Mike Catalano, along with Dan Fates. You see our special guest. We're going to be talking to Mike Giardi in a second. As always, please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. We are here in the Connors and Ferris podcast studio, and this is our What They're Saying in segment we do every week. But this week, Dan, it's special because we have friend of the pod. Have to give him Mount Rushmore of the pod.
Yeah, absolutely.
For guests, there's no question.
Yeah, not for person, but for guests.
Hell
For
no.
the amount of appearances, Mike Giardi. Mike, thanks for being with us.
Always a pleasure, guys. It's funny. My daughter is a senior in college, and I don't know, a couple of years ago, Dan sent me the hat. He sent me the whole little guest stuff, and she co-opted the hat. And so the other day, I went into her room for something. And lo and behold, the hat is there. So she didn't take it to college this time. She's had it for like 2 years, so now I have the Buffalo Plus hat.
Is this your way of asking for another hat, Mike?
Maybe.
All right.
Yes. As long as you wear it to the Patriots facility, then that would be the thing, right?
Yes.
That's what we would ask you to do. This is going to be fun, don't you think? I mean, the way this season has started out, Patriots trying to find their way, coming off a big win. The Bills somehow finding a way to be 4-0. Initial thoughts as we get set for Sunday on where the Patriots are in terms of putting together a great effort and challenging the Bills on Sunday.
So I don't think we still know what the Patriots are just yet, because the schedule has done them no favors, right? You're talking about Raiders, you're talking about the Dolphins in Miami, which again, they never win there. So the fact that they won there was something, but it was also, at least defensively, really sloppy, a lot of penalties, come back, 5 turnovers against Pittsburgh in a game they should have won going away. They end up losing. And then, if I were a betting man, I would have said bet the house on the points, the money line, the whole thing for the Patriots, with the Panthers coming up here, thinking that there's something after beating in Atlanta. But when you watch the tape of that game, you're like, their defense was good, but their offense didn't do a damn thing in that game. And sure enough, that's kind of how it played out. A little sleepy start, and then they got going. So I still think we're kind of in that stage where, are they good? Maybe? Question mark? Not sure. But definitely building in the right direction, I would say. Like there's been a lot more good play in the last 3 weeks than there has been bad play, and that obviously has defined them for the last couple of years.
Has that been part of Vrabel building something, starting to build something? We've talked before about that the roster isn't very good, but Mike Vrabel has pretty much made a living in the NFL, getting the most out of limited talent. Do you start to feel, or can you already feel, his influence on this team?
What's interesting is, so I thought throughout the entirety of the offseason, we were talking about the OTAs, we were talking about training camp, like he was the MVP. You watch how they ran things, and you're like, they didn't run this thing like this at all with Mayo, which whatever. But even before that, the last few years of Bill, you saw the decline, and you shouldn't have been surprised by what happened with the product. And so he really put his imprint on all things. And like, you'd see him here on this side, and then the next play, he's over here coaching the defense. Then he's over with the special teams, and like just really involved and really demanding a lot. Practices were crisp. Like everything was great. And then you start the season and you're like, slow starts, sloppy, a lot of penalties. And I guess I expected more, and obviously they got more yesterday in terms of, it was still a slow start and there's still some penalties, but like in general, putting it together in all 3 phases. And part of me thinks it's just this team has lost a lot. And even though they've turned over more than 50% of the roster, they're still learning each other. They're still learning what they do well, what they don't do well, how to minimize those certain things. And so they're stacking them, it's getting better. Yeah. I did think he'd be a little bit further along in terms of some of the discipline stuff.
The quarterback, we heard the nickname. Tell me if that really was a thing. Drake, maybe. Was that a thing in New England?
Yeah, Heaven forbid you say that to a Patriots fan because they might punch you in the mouth. But it's been brought up. There's there was a parody song, "Love Me 2 Times Baby." They turned it into Drake, "Turn It Over 2 Times Baby,"
Oh,
because there have been a lot of games with 2 turnovers dating back to last year, whether it be fumbles, interceptions, and those sorts of things. But he, over the last 3 weeks, he played his best game in Miami. He was just absolutely flawless. He turned around yesterday and was right up there again, very clean, making the right decisions, almost toying with Carolina at various points during the game. And in that middle game, the sandwich game with Pittsburgh with the 5 turnovers, he had 2 of them. They were massive. The interception in the end zone, the fumble. I think if you're in the EPA, took 9+ points off the board with just those 2 turnovers alone. But sandwiched around all of that was a lot of good play. So basically, we're talking about, with the exception of a couple drives here, he's put together 12 really good quarters, and you're starting to see him take that year 2 leap.
well, we were talking about it that, it was Drake May in the comparison to Josh Allen. But in his last 3 games, what you're saying, I'm sure you've heard the stat or saw the stat, he's completed over 75% of his passes, 200 yards, 2 touchdowns. The only player to do that since 2000 for 3 straight games is some guy named Tom Brady. So maybe it's not that we're putting him on the pedestal of Josh Allen. We should be putting him on the pedestal of Tom Brady, right?
Yeah, he should never be compared to Tom Brady, right?
Why,
you win,
Mike?
Hey, you win, like even Mahomes. Yeah, you win 4, maybe Super Bowls. Maybe we can start having that conversation.
Typical masshole.
Yeah, look at him going.
Typical masshole.
When you saw that for all those years you saw it for, and then you live through the Mac Jones, Bailey Zappi, Cam Newton.
Oh, wait a minute. Hold on a
I
second.
know you guys have us beat for sure.
Yes. 17 years of that.
But it's starting to come together. It feels like the game is slowing. And I think there were some concerns about him and McDaniels. Like what would that relationship be like? Because some people will point to Josh and say, look, without Tom, Josh is nothing. But then if you go back and look at the Cam Newton season, he actually cobbled together a pretty good offense with a quarterback who couldn't throw. Then he took Mac Jones and gave you the best version of Mac Jones to this point in his career, his rookie year. And then, of course, he took the head coaching job in Vegas, and we know what happened there. He got Jacoby Brissett ready to play when they needed him on short notice. He got Jimmy Garoppolo, helped get him paid. So I felt a lot better about it than other people did. And what he's doing, I think, too, is the same thing. Is they're sort of learning each other, and he's moving the pocket more, and he's getting Drake in these situations where he does take some stuff off his plate. When you do these boot action stuff, it's a high-low read, right? Maybe sometimes you'll flood it and you have 3 receivers over there, but it's like, if you don't have that and you don't have that, just tuck it and run. And now he's protecting himself better. So you can see it slowing down for him a little bit here and then making it a little bit easier, and his confidence growing. And it's, like, it's still a long way to go. He's only made 17 starts. He's only finished 15 of those games, but it's definitely, the arrow is pointing in a good direction where you feel like, I don't know that I have to worry about him as much anymore.
Mike, you were around the Bills a lot, and you've seen Josh Allen go through his maturation. And when we go back to his first and second year, obviously talented guy, but he wasn't the leader and the known leader that he's obviously become, right? As more veterans kind of leave, Josh just takes more and more of a role, and he's tremendous at it. Where's Drake May in that? Because it would seem like this is a either younger roster or newer roster. It's not that many guys that have been hanging around for a while. Where is he, maybe even in comparison to last year? And where do you think Vrabel wants him to be?
It's a good question.
Vrabel wants him to be a lot further than he is. And I don't think that that's necessarily a shot. I think when Mike got here, he saw someone who was maybe not willing to put himself out there and not willing to correct guys when corrections needed to be made. And some of that was last year. You brought in Jacoby Brissett. They started Brissett for the first, I think it was 5 weeks or 4 weeks, whatever it was. Tried to block that out of my mind. But Jacoby is very, that's his thing. He's the Pied Piper. He leads. And I think so Drake kind of always was allowed to sort of slide behind that and not have to step up and take ownership. And then when he was put in charge, it was like, well, he's a rookie and they're not very good. And so there wasn't a ton put on his plate. Just, hey, correct your, some of the mechanical issues you've got, play smart football, protect yourself, doing all those things. And like this leadership thing, we'll worry about that later. Vrabel made it like I don't know where it is on his flow chart, but it's pretty high up. And he's been on him about that from day one. Every time you see a Patriots mic'd up segment with Vrabel, invariably there's a cut in there in which Vrabel's saying, "Go celebrate with your guys, go talk to your guys." Like constantly poking and prodding. And I think he's getting a little bit more comfortable with that. Sometimes we just think it's supposed to happen because you're the quarterback, but he's 23. He's in with some grown men in that huddle, like he's still trying to figure out what works for me. How do I, how can I have success in this league, let alone like, oh, I got to lead this whole group of men. But you're seeing it a little bit for sure.
Yeah. Well, when we talk about Allen, I've always said to Dan and Jenna, like the idea is he took those steps at, I thought, were appropriate times, right? When he became the starter. And he hadn't earned it yet. And then he became the starter he'd earned. Then he became an all-pro or a Pro Bowl level player, took him to the playoffs. And I think he did all those things. By the way, we got you beat on that too. Jacoby Brissett for 3 games. How about Nate Peterman for a half before Josh started?
I love Nate Peterman, by the way. Loved him coming out.
Good guy.
Call. Yes. Good call, GIARDI.
Hey, you know what? He was
spot on.
He was in the league for a long time.
Is that the bar?
Well,
Jimmy Clausen. He was in the league for a long time. Ask Mel Kiper about that.
Hey, the Patriots backup is Josh Dobbs, who was in the same draft, who I liked about the same as Peterman. And one of the things was the old Parcells thing. Like, I want a guy who's played a lot of games. And both of those guys that played a lot of games, you're like, okay, so maybe the ceiling of, what you're hoping for, but like this guy's going to be in the league for a long time and maybe he can start somewhere. And well, it did for Peterman, it didn't work. For Dobbs, he's had a cup of coffee here, there, and everywhere, started some games, but yeah, it's interesting.
I want to just, before we start going forward and kind of previewing a little bit more of this matchup, I have a hard time, and like you were saying, the game gets sandwiched in between. What?
Shaving?
So for people that don't know, you're highly critical of that thing. Whatever.
I can't believe that you, Mike Catalano, like you're the king there. You're like Dan works for you. Let's be real.
Hall of Famer.
Yeah, you.
What Hall of Fames are you in, GIARDI?
I allow this, is what you're saying?
Yeah, so I'm almost wondering now if I should be blaming you for letting this happen.
There's a little bit. I have to pick my battles. So this one, his wife's okay with it. So
I now maybe am keeping it in spite of GIARDI, because this started at the combine when you really went full in on it and made some rude comments like a typical masshole that you are. But I do want to peel back the curtain a little bit, because we are good friends, and I even sent you the email. Very special, all-time guest, friend of the channel, Mike GIARDI. But if I can go back and go behind the curtain a little bit for our audience, the text message, we're going to do your pod as well. So be sure to give a plug, Mike, real quick here for your pod, because we'll be on it later this week.
Yeah, the All 32 pod. You get it where you get all your podcasts. We just had Kurt Warner on last week, Devin McCourty the week prior, and now my people from Buffalo Plus. Yeah. So you're in good company.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
But when we were trying to plan this all out, Jenna has an appointment right now, so she can't be here. And I said, we were texting. So I said, do you want me, all of us? I don't know how it works on your pod. And you said, well, I like Mike, or I respect Mike. I really like Jenna, and I tolerate you, was the text message that was sent, which I think was spot on. So I like these little tangents of this. I wanted to say, I really watched the first game that I really actually watched of the Patriots this year was that Steelers game. And I bet the over. So I'm livid of the 2 turnovers inside the 5-yard line. But that just looked like such an undisciplined team. Like there were like 3 illegal man downfields, and they were on routine passes, and like there's linemen that are like backpedaling, like, oops, I shouldn't be this.
Mike, you're referencing Mike and Wenu, which was classic, because Mike and Wenu, you don't miss Mike and Wenu. He's 350 and he's 10 yards downfield, and then all of a sudden he was like, oh, and he started to walk backwards, so like his hands were up, and it was a great moment.
It was an all-time. I'm watching because I'm like, okay, here they go again. They're driving, and then you're like, legal man field. Like, what? It was like a quick screen. It was like a 3-step drop, and they throw it, and he's just wandering out in the middle of the field. How do you compartmentalize some of those boneheaded mistakes that you don't normally see in a Mike Vrabel team with what you saw last week of scoring 42 unanswered points.
Yeah, and that's goes back to, I think, what we said at the beginning. Like, I'm not sure just yet what they are or where they're headed. Although I do again feel like it's going in the right direction. Mike has been very dismissive, surprisingly so, of the penalties. Um, Said that if you look at, he said, when I first came in the league as a head coach, I was the penalty. He said a penalty Nazi. It's like, don't have penalties. I'm taking you off the field. These sorts of things. And then they did their research. They get the analysts involved, they get the nerds involved. And he said it's basically and I haven't looked this up. I'm going to take his word for it. A 50-50 split. More penalties, whether you win or lose the game. And he has sort of written it off like, I mean, even again, I think a couple times yesterday, guys lining up off sides on defense. This is a weekly thing with this team. And it doesn't seem there's no repercussions for it. Just like there were essentially no repercussions for Ramondre Stevenson fumbling twice. He led the running backs in snaps yesterday, and to his credit, did a nice job, held on to the football and all those sorts of things. But it's almost like Mike's figuring out what buttons he can push, who he can push here, who can take it, who can't. Like, he hasn't been overly complimentary of Drake. Like, there's been some nice things, but he's coaching Drake more like, say, Belichick coached Brady. Like the behind the scenes stuff, or like, Johnny Foxborough could have done that. Like, more like, hey, you're our best player. Physically, you are our best player. And the fate of the franchise is going to rise and fall with you. So I need you to play great every week. And if you don't, well, we're going to focus on the stuff that you didn't do right versus the stuff that you did.
All right, let's start to go through this team a little bit. You have this receiver. Tell us what this guy, Stefan Diggs, is like. He had 100 yards, which seems to be nice for a player to get to 100 at wide receiver. What's this Diggs fella been like?
It has been much like you guys experienced.
You don't say.
The difference being that there are many folks in the media here, and certainly the fan base. The fan base doesn't want to hear anything about previous stuff, right? Like, since he showed up for training camp, he said all the right things. Well, never mind the fact that he didn't talk for a month, which is against league rules. Never mind that didn't make himself available after 2 of the first 3 games, again after the game, which is against league rules. And nobody wants to hear about that. Nobody wants to hear about how they believed he was going to be around for OTAs and he wasn't. Like, just show me, we have a real receiver.
Mike,
right?
but he has had a lot going on off the field, has he not?
As I mentioned last week on one of the pods, I Googled him.
Don't.
No, because he talked to us on Wednesday, right? So there was nothing earth-shattering from that. So I was writing Gonzalez, like it looked like Gonzalez was going to play. He had spoken to us, so I wrote on Gonzalez, and I'm like, I'll save Diggs for tomorrow. And the Thursday morning, I get ready to write this piece, and I just Googled and see, like, I don't want to write anything else anybody wrote. Like, I don't, so what was out there? And I went to Google it. I'll tell you what, nothing popped up about football. There's TMZ and a lot of other places.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, okay, I guess I'm all right. To this point, they've said that since he's been back since the summer, since training camp started, that he's done all the right things, that he has been professional, that he's in his playbook, that he has helped the younger players. Again, he hasn't talked a ton, so he hasn't necessarily put his foot in his mouth. But there's been a couple comments, which, having covered him and obviously knowing sort of his past history in Minnesota and then, of course, in Buffalo, he puts out little warning signs almost, I'm just doing what they're asking me to do. Okay, you are. You're not getting the ball. We're asking you about getting the ball, and you're just saying they're doing what you want me to do. And
did he apologize to you? Were you one of the people that he apologized to for getting off on the wrong foot? Was he like, Mike Giardi, I apologize?
No, that was not me. That was another interesting one too, where people here locally were like, "Oh, that's great. They called him out. He can call them out." And it's like, well, they didn't really say anything. Pain in the posterior is not. I don't know. There's been a lot of worse things said about players, but he wanted to be the martyr. Here's the thing, though. He still is their best receiver. We've seen the relationship with Drake build, and his use has increased this past week against Carolina. They've struggled getting Pop Douglas, getting on the same page as Pop Douglas, who tied for the league for the team lead in receptions last year. And while Diggs didn't necessarily take his snaps in the slot, Pop kind of got pushed to the side, played less snaps. They assumed more of the three receivers, more Diggs, and you saw production there. And he says he's only at a 5 on the 10 scale in terms of feeling comfortable with the offense and with Drake. I mean, if he's being real and if that's honest, then Patriots fans should be excited about what could come. I just kind of think he's not the thing that struck me about him, as I'm going all over the place there, but the thing that struck me about him is I don't see the explosiveness in his game. He's still a very detailed route runner. He still knows where the chains are. He knows how to set guys up. And that has allowed him to, prior to this game, 13 catches on 15 targets, but not for a ton of yards. Yesterday, he finally gets some yards. But I haven't seen that part of his game yet. So I wonder, how much more he can do if he doesn't have the same spring in his legs that he did even, last fall before the injury.
I was really surprised looking at it today, just going through the receiving stats, because I was like, who's officially leading the Bills? Mike and I were kind of looking at it, Keon Coleman, who has been solid so far through 4 games. And you really haven't heard much of Diggs. Obviously, he had the good game yesterday. He's got more receiving yards than Coleman. Like, I was surprised to see that he's at like 213 and Keon's at 203. I know it's not a big disparity, but I would have thought he was at like 80 yards, the way that he has really been on the field, not talked about a whole lot. He's been talked about a whole bunch off the field, not as much on the field.
Yeah, if you looked at his receptions prior to yesterday, it's a lot of underneath stuff, like simply like come in motion, settle down in a zone between the linebackers, catch an 8-yard pass, fall forward for 2 more.
Yeah.
That's been sort of his game to prior to yesterday. And then yesterday, he gets loose on it was a double in cut. They're playing zone. They rushed 4. It was a 3rd and 15. They got no pressure. Drake just sat back there, had a cup of coffee, smoked a butt, and then, ripped a nice throw to Diggs. But Diggs was open. The best play was the back shoulder to Diggs.
Yeah.
Which, again, ball placement was awesome. And then Diggs did what he was supposed to do. But, I mean, they were neck and neck. There's not much separation there on the defensive back.
You talked about it before last year that Houston was not going to be a big game because it was week 4. It was in Houston, all these things. I'm now starting to talk myself into this being a very hostile environment for Diggs in this return.
Different settings here. These are division rivals, and he's coming back to Orchard Park. That game was in Houston. My point last year was nationally, I didn't think it was that big a deal. Diggs back against the Bills was the weird setting where we were waiting for Josh to come out before the game and all that weirdness that went on, and then it was done. I think you're right. I think fans are going to be on him, even though we can pretend all this stuff. He was extremely popular in Orchard Park and in Buffalo.
And very productive.
Yeah. And he was a lot of those things, which brings me to my next thing I was going to say, Mike. Do you think the Patriots' plan is to have him, and for the NFL, 2-3 years is, planning terms. Do you think they want him around for May, or is he more of, hey, help me out this year? He's a talented guy. We get him kind of on the cheap this way, not the cheap, but they get him for, the money, and he won't be that guy for them.
Yeah. So his money jumps significantly next year. And to me, like, he would have to be pretty much flawless for them to pick that up.
Okay.
I think that the contract is 3 years and 70 million or 60, 69, whatever it is. 18 million this year, guaranteed.
Mm-hmm.
So it takes that leap, and they have the out. I would think that he'd have to be an 85 catch, 1,100 yard receiver and be absolutely flawless in the meeting rooms and all the other stuff that he needs to be. And then probably even promise to make sure that he's going to be there in the spring a little bit more than he was this past year for them to say, you know what, we're going to pick that up. The other part of this too is who's going to be available. Like, what free agents are going to be out there? This year they wanted, he was so far down the list of guys that they wanted, and Godwin wouldn't leave Tampa, even though they basically gave him a blank check. DK Metcalf, they would have done that for DK. DK didn't want to be here. Last year it was Ayuk, before the injury. So they'll want to find someone to replace him. And I don't think that someone's on the roster. They drafted Kyle Williams in the 3rd round. We just haven't seen very much from him. So that'll be the other part of it. Do we have to hold our nose and say, we'll sign up for another year of this because we don't have any other options that matter? And okay, we know this guy. We managed him for the entire year and he gave us X amount of production.
I think that when you looking at this game, we saw what the Saints did is they kind of copycatted what the Dolphins did, which was move the pocket, simple, quick throws, get the ball out quickly, and then run the ball down this very porous Bills rushing defense that we have seen the last few weeks. Is like Vrabel just salivating at the thought of like, we're just going to try and play big boy football and do the same exact thing that the other two teams have had a lot of success against this Buffalo defense?
He's definitely going to want to move the pocket. I mean, I think they find that Drake's pretty comfortable in that regard. They've tried to play big boy football and haven't been great at it thus far. Didn't move Vegas at all in week 1. Okay, you want to just the week 1 thing, and you don't know what you don't know, and you figure that out. Better against Miami, but not great. Like had a couple of like good runs, but generally struggled to sustain it. Same thing this week. Like had a drive where they ripped off a jet sweep for 21 to Antonio Gibson, who lined up in a different spot than normal. Kind of caught him sleeping. Then ran a fake off the jet. And Ramondre had a 21-yard run off of that. But if you look at like down to down, not awesome. So they haven't quite figured that part out yet. And it's funny because I thought coming into this year, if I knew anything about the offensive line, I'm like, oh, they'll be able to run block. And to this point, they've been better at pass blocking than they've been at run blocking.
Even with the short arms of your tackle?
To his credit, he has played pretty good football. There's some metrics that have him higher up, and then there are some that don't have him as high up. But by and large, where they were last year, with what they were dealing with, Vidarian Lowe, Demontre Jacobs, that whole just litany of nice guys, all of them nice guys, none of them NFL players. He has given them competency at the position.
Do you think Mike's GRD's short arm guy will be able to block your long arm guy?
I was big on Greg Rousseau, giving them something big this year. They signed him.
He's been saying it for 3 years. This is going to be the year.
Yeah. Hey, look, we have a similar guy, not the same draft status. Keon White was a 2nd rounder, but Keon White in his first 2 years in the league has had these bouts of brilliance. And if you see the dude, much like Rousseau, he's chiseled out of granite. They shouldn't make guys like this. He should be illegal. And he's struggling to get on the field this year in year 3. Like, it's just now that's not Rousseau's problem, but like Rousseau's never, I'm with Mike. I kind of expected it too. Like, he's due to take the leap and it just hasn't happened. So maybe this is just who he is.
Yeah. Well, in the big picture on the Bills, they signed Bosa. Bosa's had flashes, no doubt. He's had more. But they still don't get enough out of this D-line at all. Deion Walker looks like he could really be a player for them that they got out of Kentucky, but they need more. And these guys give me a hard time because I'm more of a positive person than Dan and Jenna are, very negative about everybody.
Me, Mr.
But
Negative.
they need more. He's better against the run.
Because that's why they paid him all that money.
But here's what
set the edge.
But that's what I want to ask you.
Not so good against the run.
Yeah.
Well, with Stevenson and Henderson now, is this like a 50-50 deal with the backs?
So Henderson looked good yesterday. And I think we were all kind of expecting more. I just figured Stevenson's snaps were going to get reduced yesterday after the 2 fumbles. And as I told you earlier, he led them in running back snaps yesterday. Henderson has been, disappointment's a strong word, but he had such a good summer and he's so friggin' explosive that everybody's been waiting for him to pop off. And part of his problem here has been not being patient enough and not letting things develop. And he's run into a lot of contact. Like, he's had holes, but he hasn't waited long enough to get to the hole. He was better at that yesterday. Carolina also was complicit. Carolina pretty much at 21-6. I think Carolina was like, we're done playing. Like, can we leave now? So there's that part of it too. but it was better from him. And hopefully, they're hoping that they can get more of that where he shows the patience because he's got surprising power for a guy. He's only about 205 pounds, but like he moves people in a way that like Ramondre does, and Ramondre's got him by 20 pounds.
One last thing for me, special teams. It seems like they have an edge with this return game. They had a punt return for a touchdown last week. They've gotten explosive plays. The Bills haven't been great on special teams. Their punter now is injured. We don't know about the status of this as we're recording this on Monday afternoon. It's 1/3 of the game, Mike. It's 1/3 of the game, special teams. Where do you see, is that a big advantage? Because I don't even know exactly the name of the return guy, but he had like 3 returns for 180 yards. There's my next level analysis.
Sweet. Marcus Jones, cornerback.
Yeah, totally.
He's the nickel corner, fast as can be, little fella, 5'8" maybe.
You tower over him.
Yeah, totally. Post him up. He knows not to mess with me just because that size advantage.
Yeah.
He is awesome in that he is completely fearless, but yet in his fearlessness, he makes the right decisions. So like he's one of those guys, like, you see guys back up and catch the ball at the 5 and you're like, oh, why did he do that? The kid for Carolina did yesterday, caught the ball at the 4, then went backwards 2 steps and got tackled at the 2. And you're just like,
Carolina football.
Isn't the rule like past the 8-yard line, you're supposed to let it hit and bounce in the end zone? And he felt this kid seems to make the right choice on that all the time. The touchdown was ridiculous in that they thought he was probably going to fair catch it, and he didn't. But they were still all over him. 3 guys had shots at him, and he ran through arm tackles. And I think the last one, it was like the guy kind of almost turned his body towards the sidelines, and he's like, "Ooh, space!" And then see you later. It was like nothing but green grass or turf in this case for 80 yards. He's a really dangerous player. They've been hit or miss on the kick returns. Like they had the kick return for a touchdown against Miami, which was huge after giving up a punt return for a touchdown. Then the following week against Pittsburgh, the kick return game was terrible. So I still think they're kind of figuring that part of it out, but the punt return thing is no joke. They've been good at it for a while. He's as good as there is in the league at it. And yeah, if I was the Bills, I'd be probably kicking away from him.
Yeah. For the Patriots defensively, because the Bills, however they do it, it's 30 points every week. It's, it's kind of like that's just what they end up. I want to know, where is Christian Gonzalez now physically? Like, where is he? And how has Milton Williams been? A guy paid a lot of money to come in. How's he been on the D line, and what are we seeing out of Gonzalez?
Yeah, a lot of consternation about Gonzalez and the hamstring injury. Got hurt on July 28th. Whoever talked to Jordan Schultz, the insider, was like, "Oh, no worries. He'll be ready for week 1. They're not worried about it at all." Well, week 1 came, still no Gonzalez. Week 2, no Gonzalez. Week 3, finally starts practicing, barely does anything, ruled out the day before the Steelers game. This week, decent week of practice, plays the game, was full go, didn't come out until they decided the game was over. I think 48 snaps, and it was 1 play where he gave up a catch, but otherwise solid. I mean, Carolina's passing attack doesn't scare anybody, nor did their receivers other than McMillan. But Vrabel thought it was a good sort of reintegration into the system. And now we'll see how the leg and the body feels after his first real contact and workout in essentially 2 months. But obviously with him and Carlton Davis, as Vrabel said when they signed Davis, I want to play cat coverage, as in you got that cat and he's got that cat, and we don't have to worry about it. And yesterday was the first chance for that, and pretty successful. Williams has been great. Like, the numbers aren't probably going to show some of the stuff, but he has been an absolute
Your boy.
Yeah, he
was just a heck of a player with the Eagles. I mean,
he's Mike. He's like he was a 45% snap guy with the Eagles. He's at, I think, 70 something here.
Yeah,
and he's looked every bit as good as he did on the Eagles tape as he has here. Like, again, not having all the numbers,
but he made that big play. What was that, at the end of the Miami? Was it the end of the Miami game?
Yep,
he got the sack late.
Yep. Walk-off sack, if you will, in that game. But even against the Steelers, like, he was in the backfield a ton, It's just Aaron throws the ball in 1.5 seconds. So you look at the stat sheet afterwards, like he didn't hit the quarterback. Or he didn't
Oh no,
have
Dan doesn't believe that quarterbacks get rid of the ball. And
this is not some nuanced like theory that they're like, hey, by the way, let's get rid of the ball quickly. I still want Greg Rousseau to try and get there if they're going to sit there and go, we're going to get the ball out quickly. Still impact the quarterback.
In one point, yeah, but this is you should know this. Having faced Tom Brady all those years, I remember what was Marcellus? What was the guy's name? Big first-round pick,
Marcel Marius, Marcel Darius.
Yes, thank you. Who was like, Tom threw 45 times in a game in Buffalo, and he's like, I didn't think he sniffed him, and he's like, there's nothing you can do. He said the ball's gone in a second and a half. Like, I beat my guy, and I look at the quarterback, and he's standing there. He doesn't have the ball anymore. It's like, what am I supposed to do?
Something. As Sean likes to say, no, Mike, you don't get it. As Sean likes to say, the coverage and the pass rush needs to be a marriage, and he does this a lot. They need to be together in a marriage.
Well, it's true.
Well, we can't have you can't have you need to have you can't have your corners playing 10 yards off and then not expecting to get quick throws. It's
I mean, if that's the way they're going to play it, then that's what you're going to get. If you're going to play back, you're inviting all that stuff. Patriots actually in the first quarter against the Steelers, which was a odd game plan, we're playing cover 2, like protecting against getting high safeties, protecting against deep. And I'm like, this guy doesn't throw deep ever, once a game maybe. And so all he did was boom, 5 yards here, 7 yards here, 9 yards here. And by the time they woke up, it was 14-0, So yeah, I think Williams would be great though. Like great for the locker room, productive. Their interior defensive line, Barmore played his best game, as he comes back off the blood clots from last year, it was his best performance again against backups. Because they were already down to their second guard, and their second guard went out, so they were down to the third stringer by the second quarter of the game. But something to build off of.
Terrible having you on as always, Mike.
I hated it. I mean, I enjoyed talking to Mike.
Yeah, well, it's because two adults speaking.
Yeah, right, right.
Some punk little kid with a mustache.
Well, that's a strong word.
Pretty much the way it is.
Last thing, you talked a little bit about. I always like to hear this, and obviously you have a great perspective on this. Where's the fan base on this team? And last year had to be rough. I mean, you already hit the end of build, and then everybody's excited. Not everybody, a lot of people. Oh, there's a change, and it just didn't work at all. Where are they now, coming into Sunday night?
Most enthusiasm for this football team since Mac's rookie year.
That's when the Patriots took over the division, right? Oh, no, it wasn't his rookie year. When he made the playoffs.
Yeah, that was his rookie year. And then they came into Buffalo and lost 47-17.
And then the Bills, the Bills never.
Well, I meant after the wind game.
Oh, yeah, right.
And then it was over. No, I interrupt Dan and Jenna all the time. I just interrupted you. They're high on this team, right? There's optimism. You got a quarterback. You have a coach. And it has been for New England that little bit of a drought there, right? The few years where it just wasn't good at all. They're excited.
Yeah, I mean, I can just tell you this: the last couple of years, going to the stadium on game day, and I have my routine, and I get there 3 hours early, and like when in the prime of the Brady Belichick era, it took forever to get in there. Like, didn't matter what time you showed up; it's hard to get in there. Then Belichick decline, the Mayo thing. Like, when do you want to go to the stadium? Like, I can wait until like I don't have to worry about traffic. You didn't have to worry about a full stadium. You didn't have to worry about leaving after the game, like just in and out. And that place with relatively not much problem. This year's changed, 3 home games. They finally win one, but like there's a different energy. There's a different expectation, a real coach, a coordinator they're familiar with that they like, a defense that gets after you. They kind of got bored of the whole sit back and 2 gap and all the things that Bill liked to do. This team will, wants to be aggressive, wants to get up the field. And yeah, there's a genuine enthusiasm for it. Like, even though the roster still needs work, hey, there's better players here now than there have been in the last few years. So it's like, you see all these things coming together. Then you start looking at the schedule. New Orleans is coming up. Tennessee's coming up. Cleveland's coming up. It's like, okay, like if you separate yourself from that pack, then you're playing meaningful football in December, and you hope
Yeah.
in January, whether you're in the playoffs or not, I don't know, but like that gives you that sort of potential.
Put you on the spot. Prediction for the game.
I think it's gonna be a lot of points. I don't, from the way Buffalo has played defensively, I think, and the way Drake is playing, I think the Patriots are going to score some points. But I think Josh has, as you mentioned, whether they're playing well or not, finds a way to get to 30. I don't know if they'll get to 30 in this one, but 28-24, something 27-24. Like, I think we'll see points.
That's an over. 48.5. Bills 8.5 point favorites. I thought that was high.
Yeah,
I thought 6.5. I would have thought 6.5.
Yeah,
8.5 was a lot.
That does feel. I'll be curious to see how that moves during the course of the week.
Yeah.
See what happens with Uncle Dan's bets.
Yes.
Hey, 4-2 with the Dolphins Jets over going on tonight.
Can you imagine just having to sit and wait out the Dolphins Jets game to make it work?
Points. I said I'm scarred by the Patriots. They had 5 fumbles and cost me an over.
What's the over under on the Jets Dolphins?
44.5.
Ooh.
Yeah.
They're the 2 worst defenses.
Yeah, but Justin Fields and Tua aren't very good either.
Points. Tons of points.
Keep them away from. Yeah, we'll
see.
see.
I think you're going to be in a bad mood tomorrow.
We'll timestamp this. This is going to get tweeted out one way or another tomorrow.
Hey, Mike, thanks as always. Again, let everybody know where they can find your stuff.
On Twitter, at Mike GIARDI. As you know, Boston Sports Journal is where I write for now. And then the All 32 pod, which is everywhere you get your podcasts. As I mentioned, excited to have you guys come on at the end of the week. We'll chop it up. I'll put you guys in the hot seat. See if you can live up to the Kurt Warner, Devin McCourty billing. We'll see.
I'll tell you right now, we can't. I'll tell you.
Yes.
I'll tell you right now.
Well, if it was just Mike, maybe.
Yeah.
Yes.
100%.
That Kurt Warner is a Hall of Famer.
I have a
gold jacket.
Yeah, McCourty's not. No. Patriots Wall of Famer.
He'll be a Patriots Hall of Famer. I mean, he's not going to get in.
Okay,
but if you're even thought of, that's pretty good.
Yeah,
right?
We've been talking about it quite a bit. That there's nobody on this current Bills team that is even remotely close to being a Hall of Famer. And even on track to, if it continues, like not even. And the 2 Hall of Famers that Josh has really played with were at the tail end of his career with McCoy, who should get in, and Vaughn.
And I guess Frank Gore could even be there.
Oh, yeah.
Diggs get in?
Certainly he's he is at a higher level than anybody on this current Bills team. There's no doubt. I mean, there's nobody, so
it's crazy because we talk about Deion Dawkins and how good he has been. Bills Hall of Famer for sure. Doesn't even have an All-Pro.
Right.
Like when you're in this era, he's the 5th best tackle, which is really good. You want to be a top 5 tackle, but you're behind a ton of other guys that have just been, staples for all pros with Lane Johnson and everybody else. It's like those guys get it. And Deion's very good, but all right, man, we will.
Yeah. That's the thing about the Patriots, right? For that, especially the second chunk of the dynasty, it's like, who's making the Hall of Fame?
Yeah.
Like Gronk will make the Hall of Fame. Brady's making the Hall of Fame, but like, who else? Like McCourty, like some of their best guys are probably close, but never going to get over the top.
Yeah.
So
it's something to think about sometimes when you look at the success of the quarterbacks.
In a heartfelt moment, GIARDI, you are the best. We really do appreciate you. Appreciate the texts and our friendship and the way that you have grown as the Buffalo Plus channel has grown over 40,000 subscribers. No big deal. Like, comment, subscribe. GIARDI's been doing that for a long time. Back when we were just a
before
couple of
the
people.
as
mustache.
I like to call it, the good old days.
That was a layup.
All right. Well, look at that. They're calling. It's Vrabel.
Easy. Come on, be professional here, GIARDI.
All right. Thank you to Mike GIARDI, and thank you for all of you for watching us. Please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Thanks for being with us in the Connors and Ferris podcast studio, and we'll see you the next time on Buffalo Plus.